Hi, welcome back to the workshop for episode 29 of the Rickenbacker 620/12 string build. And in this episode, we're going to move back onto the neck and get this fretboard sorted out. So in the last episode, we took the steps of getting everything pretty much, apart from the bridge, fastened into position so that we know exactly what we're looking at with this build. And that really did help it come along an awful long way. It really does start to look the part now. However, we did figure out that there's a bit of an issue with the pickups, in so much as if we put a rule on the fretboard, this pickup is too high, which means that pickup's probably too high as well. So at some point, I think I'm going to have to kind of recess these in ever so slightly. It's not a problem for me. This isn't a Rickenbacker. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. And I also think it will help tidy up these rubber grommets somewhat if they're actually in a route, not just sat on top of the guitar. So that does need doing at some point, but we can't really do that until we're a little bit further along with the neck. Namely, we need to get this fretboard finished off in position and we need to get the frets in. So we've got an exact height for where these pickups need to be. And the first stage of that is getting this fretboard finished off. Now, when I first did it, I polished it up quite nicely, as you can probably see there, but it has had some grief since then, and there's one or two bits of it that are a little bit scuffed up now. So we need to kind of clean that up and get that back to the finish that we want. And also, there's no side dots. We spent all that time getting those lovely perloid inlays done. We didn't do the side dots. So that needs finishing off as well. So I'm actually going to start with the side dots. We'll get everything else cleaned out of the way and just focus on this bit for a while. And the side dots on this are going to be quite straightforward. It's just going to be simple black dots using some of this, I think this is 2mm ABS material. I recently bought a 3D printer and that uses very similar material to this for its filaments. So in future they might be 1.75 instead of 2mm black dots, because I can get that material extremely cheaply. So to start with, all I'm going to do is take a small square and a pencil. And I'm just going to mark the beginning, the fret positions where we have a marker. I'm then going to square those lines across. And then I'll just use this centering rule just to find the center of each of those positions. Just there. And square that line across. And then I'm going to use my handy little side dot positioning jig. Now I think that is perhaps putting them a little bit too high. So what I might do is just put a few layers of masking tape on that just to pull it back a little bit so it's more central. Okay, so that's all laid out now. I've marked the center line for all of these, and I've also used the rubber to get rid of all my layout lines, so I can't hopefully put this in the wrong position now. And I've kind of padded this out with a bit of masking tape so that it's sitting in the right position. And I'll just work my way along, just position that where I need it, hold it in place with that spring clamp, drill my 2mm hole in there, glue in a little bit of this rod. Job's a good one. Okay, and with those position markers all sorted out, it's now time to just kind of clean this fretboard up again and get it back to the level of polish that we had before. It only needs very, very slight amount of material taking off, so we're not particularly concerned about the radius here. We shouldn't be altering that at all as long as we're careful. So I'm just going to start, I've got some 240 here on this little block, and I'm just going to start rubbing that up and down, just taking out the worst of the scratches that have got in there, which really isn't very much at all. And then once I'm happy with that, I'll switch this to the next grade, which is 320, work my way up with that. We'll then go on to some super acrylics to get that up to about 1200. And then we've got Trizact at 3000 and 6000 just to put that final polish on. And then this should be ready to go on. And hopefully you can see there, that's got that sheen all nicely sorted back out again. So yeah, looking lovely. And those side markers also look kind of swish as well. So with that done, there isn't really anything left to stop us getting this glued on. So we'll get the guitar back on the bench and break out some tight bond. So this has had a few hours to dry now, so we'll just get these clamps off. See what we've done. And I think that's gone on absolutely lovely. So yeah, very, very happy with that. So from here, there's a couple of little jobs that we need to do, such as dealing with these little pegs that we've put in to hold the fretboard in place and cleaning out any debris that might be in the fret slots, and then we can prepare and install the frets. But we've done quite enough this time, so I'm going to leave that till the next episode. So until then, smash that like button if you've enjoyed this, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.